In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the engine mount on this Toyota Tacoma with a 2.4 liter engine. You can access this from underneath, and there is one located on each side of the engine. Personally, I recommend replacing both in pairs, so let's get started. I'm going to add some support underneath the corner of the oil pan in the front. Don't jack up on the center. If you're on the floor, you're going to be using a floor jack. I'm on a lift, so I'm going to use a pole jack. I'm going to raise this up just a little bit, just enough to release some pressure off of the engine mount. Now we can start unbolting it. Let's remove the bolts that go from the engine mount through it onto the frame bracket. They are 14 millimeter in size on both the bolt side and on the nut side. I'm going to just try to break the bolts free first. There we go. Now the mounting nut started spinning, so I'm just going to hold it with a wrench. Okay, take this out. Let's do the same to the other one. Take these off. Now I'm going to unbolt the bracket off of the engine block so I can remove everything as a unit, and that'll make it easier for me to get the engine mount off. If you don't want to do it this way, you can just remove the main engine mounting nut off the top. Just the stud is a little long, so you might have some trouble. These are 14 millimeter in size. Break them all free and remove them. The last one is going to be up at the top behind between the oil filter and this mount. A little bit trickier to get to, but not impossible. Well, there's the fourth one. Now, this whole thing should be able to easily come right up and out. There it is. And now we can separate the engine mount from the bracket by removing this mounting nut. I have the mount bracket set up in my vise. If you don't have a vise, you're going to have to find a way to hold it, because at this point, you're going to have to break this free. Now, you can also break this free while it's in the vehicle from up top. Before you dismount everything, just go ahead and break this free, then you'll be able to do it. Especially if you have a power tool, that comes in handy. Remove the 17 millimeter nut. With this off, you should be able to remove the mount. Mine's pretty clamped down tight here, but off of the mount itself, you're going to have to remove this metal plate that goes on top, and there's your mount. Put the plate and the mount back together. Make sure that this little divot here lines up with the pin. And then you're going to want to slide everything through here. Start on the mounting nut. Snug it up. This new one is a 19 millimeter nut. I'm going to torque this to 55 foot-pounds. There we go. Now get the new engine mount with the bracket in here. Line it up on the frame side as well as on the engine side. Lift up the engine if needed to line everything up. Bolts on the engine side started right now. The frame side is currently not lining up, but once I get these in, I'll be able to move things around to properly line everything up. I'm going to torque these to 35 foot-pounds. If you're unable to torque them, just make sure they're nice and tight by hand. For that top one, I can't really get my torque wrench in there, so I'm just going to tighten it up by hand. 35 foot-pounds is not a lot. Now when you lower this mount down, you want to make sure that the flat, diagonally cut side is facing towards the bottom where these hooks are. If you have it on the other way, it will not line up. This is a multi-fit mount. It also fits the V6. So to do the V6, you would flip it around the other way. But for the 4-cylinder, you want it this way. And now you just want to check the bolt holes on both sides to make sure that they line up. It looks like they do, but the mount is slightly twisted, so it needs to come down on this side and up on the back side. Just needs to kind of twist like that. So I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on it with my pull jack again. Just like that. I'm going to take a pry bar, try to twist it. And as I hold pressure on it, I'm just going to drop it down. That'll basically lock it in place. Okay, let's check the other side. Other side looks pretty good, so let's bolt it on. The bolts came in from top to bottom. Put the mounting nuts on the other side. I'm not going to tighten this one until the other one's in, just in case this needs to move around a little bit. It is starting on smoothly, so that's good. If you need to replace this hardware, go ahead and do that so that this can be clamped down properly. Slide that through, and the mounting nut. There we go. Let's tighten these down. The torque is 35 foot-pounds. There's no way I can fit a torque wrench in here just because of the angle of it. So I'm just going to make it nice and snug by hand. That's nice and snug. All right, nice and tight. And there you have it. Do the same to the other side. I always recommend replacing engine mounts in pairs.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.